Hi guys, today I'll talk about foreign direct investment spillovers and why they are important and an interesting topic that we should understand a little better. Well, first, I think it's important to understand actually the word spillovers. It seems a bit mysterious, so we perhaps understand foreign direct investment. It's often quite beneficial for countries to attract, in particular, new greenfield project where foreign investor such as IKEA or Microsoft invest in a particular facility in a country, give jobs to local people. Um, and hopefully create some value in that production. But the spillover part of the FDI spillovers links to actually something that goes beyond a benefit to the firm that invested. So it is about some of its valuable knowledge or technology spilling over to the local economy, in particular to local firms. These could be suppliers or these could be customers of the multinational subsidiary, whether it's a greenfield investment or whether it's an acquired firm in a foreign country. I think there are a couple of aspects there. So first, what is it that spills over? So often these FDI spillovers, it's not a whole foreign investment that's spilling over. It's actually often called technology spillovers. It's technology that the multinational firm brought to the country that in some ways can be copied, learned, or some aspects of it could spill over to the local firms. Technology here is understood a little more broadly. So in the Blomstrom and Coco foundational study on FDI spillovers, they view technology as not just kind of hard tech, not just computer machinery or programs or particular type of production equipment. It would also be the ways of doing things, how you manage things, how you market things. So kind of the whole aspect of, you could say, ownership advantages of the firm. So the firms do not have an interest to share it with local firms, the multinationals, when they come to a country. But the truth is, a prolonged presence of a foreign investor in a country leads to some employees leaving the firm and taking away some of the knowledge that they gathered in the multinational firm. Multinationals sometimes have an interest in making sure they've got quality suppliers in the country, so they train them up or they just raise the expectations. There's also competition effects. The presence of a foreign firm might spur the local firms to work a little harder with the existing resources. Um, uh, there are perhaps two main types of spillovers. One is called productivity spillover. So that's about effect of foreign MNCs as they enter the country on productivity of local firms. And the key here is that it's kind of the spillover effect is the effect that was not internalized by the MNC. So it's something that's not just a benefit to the multinational firm, but a benefit to the local firms that become more efficient as a result of FDI. And then the second type of spillovers is often called market access spillovers. It's about the foreign firms improving access for local firms in the host country to export to foreign markets. Um, so the foreign firms could lobby with some of the foreign governments for removal of tariffs or some other barriers to trade, and again to various personal interactions between the multinational subsidiary and local firms. They could learn more about export management, kind of access in some ways the context of the foreign firm and its international network where it sells. Now, I've done some research myself in this field, and I would just like to sum up maybe 4 contributions I hopefully made to the literature. So in one of my studies, I looked at the role of intangible assets, and in particular R&D and marketing. And I found that actually a lot of the studies on FDI spillovers were stressing the role of kind of hard technology, the R&D, and how the local firms could benefit from R&D by foreign multinationals. My study actually found that in the OECD, often it was marketing intensive industries where the local firms had most to learn. If you think about even now, countries such as China, they became quite competitive in terms of hard technologies, you know, the 5G, etc., etc. But I think they still have a lot more to learn in terms of marketing. So I pointed to the importance of understanding how the knowledge about marketing techniques could also spill over to local firms, and how important is that for the productivity of firms in host countries. In the second study, I pointed to the role on of competitiveness gap. It's often quite important to understand, especially if you look at it at the spillovers within the same industry, whether the local firms see the presence of a foreign firm as something that can spur them to improve their performance, or whether it's a threat kind of beyond you being able to catch up. So I looked at the competitiveness gap between foreign and local firms, and if it was moderate, if the local companies saw that, you know, if they improve, they can catch up with a foreign competitor, or perhaps, you know, in a competition abroad, they really had incentive to improve their performance. So it often took a couple of years until the impact of the foreign investor kind of really resulted in improved productivity of local firms. But if they were lagging too much behind, often it resulted in the exit of the local firm, or just negative impact on productivity of local firms. So if the foreign investor is way more advanced, the local firms lost all the best employees to the foreign firm, and the owners of the local firm just did not see a reason to be investing and you know, trying to improve their productivity too much, because the foreign competitor was just too strong. And then I wrote two studies on kind of looking at the issue of spillovers kind of from a reverse side. So while a lot of studies look at the impact of foreign investors on local firms, I also looked at what's called sometimes knowledge seeking or strategic asset seeking, FDI, in the OECD, where in particular firms from emerging markets such as China invest in countries such as the UK or the US or Switzerland, to actually kind of learn from firms there. So I found that in the OECD, where local firms were quite R&D intensive and doing a lot of R&D, the foreign affiliates were benefiting in terms of productivity from the R&D done in the OECD. And my last study looked at what we call with my co-author mutual productivity spillovers. And we kind of again stress the fact that the learning is two-way. When a foreign investor invests, in particular in the OECD, imagine, you know, investing in New Zealand. Obviously, New Zealand firms would have a lot to learn from the foreign investor, but the foreign investor can learn a lot from local firms as well. So we pointed to the kind of dual or reciprocal nature of knowledge exchange and learning, and the fact that it's not just local backward firms that learn from the MNC, but often often MNCs can also learn from local firms.